Here it is. Hi, everyone. This is Gary Wilson. Welcome to tonight's webinar. I appreciate your patience during the audio technical difficulties we had, but we're up and running now. To move forward, I'm not going to spend a lot of time rehashing prior webinars, although we normally do that. Just suffice it to say we're still currently going through the marketing campaigns, and we've made a lot of progress since early February. So tonight what we're going to do is we're going to go over how you can use local publications. We're going to go over how you can use workplace lunches and other types of events through workplaces. It's sort of like what you do at a workshop, but it's a different format. We're also going to talk about FSBOs and expires and how to approach them and how to address them. We may have time for one more. So next week, good news is I'm going to show you another technique we've done in the past that worked very, very well to get buyers and sellers. It has to do with Craigslist, and there are certain things you need to know. I know a lot of you have already used Craigslist, and some of you have given up, but don't give up because we're going to show you some things next week you can do with Craigslist to improve your odds dramatically. Not just in the ad creation, but more importantly, when you place your ad, the day of the week, the time of the day. Everybody's thinking it's, well, you've got to do those during breakfast, lunch, and supper hour. And people have been saying that for years, so now everybody knows that. But there's other things you can do different days of the week. Also, there's different things you can do with the ads. We're going to show you with Postlets and Craigslist combined. Okay? So we can back to tonight. What I want to do is I'm going to show you give an example of some penny saver ads. Let's see if we got any here. Let's see, browse the site. We don't want to do that. Estate sales. We could look at estate sales. I did type in real estate, but let's see. I have to reduce my screen, so hang on one second. We're going to pick Charlottesville, Virginia, since that's where I am right now. I'm staying with my parents for a couple days. And in a couple of weeks, I'll be teaching in Richmond and in Lynchburg. So I want to give you guys some examples of ads. This publication is called Penny Saver. Penny Saver is in most locations around North America, or there's an equivalent. Okay. So while this is booting, let's see. Browse for ads and show some more. So here we go. There's a couple right here. Sometimes you're going to see agents are promoting themselves, and that's not how you want to use Penny Saver, guys. Or Green Sheet. Many of you guys have seen Green Sheet. Okay. There's Penny Saver, there's Green Sheet. There's a number of different local publications that you can use in the U.S. and Canada. So let's see. I'm going to type in investment property. Investment. See if anything pops up, because Charlottesville is a great college town and has a great university, a hospital system, so it's got the unique combination we like to look for our clients who are buying rentals. Anytime you can be around a university system or a hospital system, great places to be. That's booming. Just to remind you, when you're spending your advertising dollars, you've got to figure out ways to save money, because in traditional marketing, you can spend an awful lot of money on marketing and advertising. We've all been through it. When it comes to investors, you shouldn't have to do that. In fact, you don't have to do it. In fact, more specifically, most traditional methods do not work very well with investors unless you really modify them to be more effective. I'm not even really liking this Penny Saver site. There was another one I found earlier that was a lot better. While this is trying to boot, they must have a really bad server. Let's see if I can find another one. And I don't really care about USA. Let's knock that out. pennysaver.com. And yes, this is the one I want. Let's just pick, we'll pick Pennsylvania, because I know we got a lot of Pennsylvanians on. Let's see, real estate, homes for sale. Okay, so here's some examples of ads in the Penny. This is Penny Saver Online. So here's how Penny Saver works, and you can see there are a number of states And I know that they have an equivalent of it in Canada because I've actually used it before. But I want to look at some of these, critique them, and give you some things to think about. Let me bring my panel back so I can see if and when we have questions. Okay, let's see. Cheryl was saying she's going to log in and try again. But yeah, sure, everybody seems to be okay so far, and that's not the best order in the world, but I had to resort to my phone. So in any case, back to the ads here. When you're posting ads out here, you should always do the printed version and the online version. And oftentimes they will give you a special deal. Okay? The way Penny Saver works in similar publications, no matter where you are, is the more areas you cover, the more areas you place your ads in, okay, the better deal you can get. Now, it seems like it's like, okay, yeah, I'll put my ad in more areas around town, and it'll be cheaper per area. But the reality is you don't necessarily always want to do that, because if you think about it, if you're in a large metropolitan area like Los Angeles, like Pittsburgh, Detroit, Chicago, you don't want to put your ad in every single area. You only want to put your ad in areas where you're pretty sure people who are going to be living, they're interested in what you're advertising. So in our case, there's multiple ways to use Penny Saver, Green Sheet, and these what I call local publications. Okay, so we can use those to advertise properties for sale, and we can use them to advertise rentals. Okay, one of the ways you can use it as an agent is if you're looking for clients, look in the Penny Saver and see who's advertising rentals. Okay, if there's an agency that's at work, they have to disclose that they're an agency placing the ad. You can always tell the mom and pops. And what I would suggest is get the property. Sometimes I actually will tell you where it is. If not, you can call and gather information. This is kind of like a stealth method, but you can go online, locate the property, okay, and get the address information and contact them that way. That's just one way to locate people if you're really looking for ways to find people. However, how we use it is we actually do place ads for our properties for sale with the Penny Saver. And if you don't have any properties for sale, remember Beverly's going to show you how you can locate properties next week that are typically HUD properties. All right. I think it's back to these ads. The first ad is pretty poorly written. The structure of it is they used the center of every line, which is not a bad thing in itself. But there's nothing that stands out. There's nothing that grabs your attention. And if you look at it compared to the next ad does stand out. It doesn't say a whole lot. And this is the critical point I was getting to. The first ad has way too much in there. Okay, you don't want to rattle off all the features and benefits. You want to give a couple of benefits and maybe one or two features. Okay, the main things. If you look at the second one, multi-unit Lewistown, bold print, capital letters. It actually gives you the address. See, this is what I was talking about a moment ago. Now you can let's say this is an ad for rental. You can actually look up the address on your county tax census database and send the owner of the property. Let's see, is this letter? This is a letter that you get in the training program, and this is a letter I give you in person when I teach class at your market center. So you can take this letter, okay, and send it. You go online, county tax census database, plug in this address, find the owner information, see who owns it, and send them this letter. Okay. In fact, I would probably send it just the way it is. I wouldn't even modify it. All right. So, in any case, that's one way to use these local ads. But back to the placing the ad. If you notice, this ad definitely got my attention. It's easy to read, very few words. The phone number is in bold print, which is a Skype number, which is smart. Okay. Gives me all the information that I could possibly want and need. All right. Another thing, let's see if I can find another ad. Pictures are good. Pictures are generally cost you a little bit more money, but a picture is worth 1,000 words. I bet this is the same person. In fact, what's another Skype number? Let's see. Different Skype number. It's similarly structured ad Does it have a picture? The third one has a picture. Let's see if these numbers are the same here. They're different numbers, okay? In any case, what I'm not seeing here is I'm kind of surprised by it is maybe they don't offer it online. Whenever you create an ad, particularly one like this one over here that I'm circling, always place it in a box. A box will always make your ad stand out, okay? So a couple of things here. I want to, before I go any further, I want to do a brief recap. Right now, let's focus on you placing an ad for a property that you have for sale, or you're trying to advertise a HUD property that's not yours. Build an ad just like this. Use this as a model, okay, and place a box around it. That's all you do is place the box around it, okay? That's the first thing, all right? Second thing is this. You want to focus, let's say this is your ad, and you've got a Walnut Street multi-unit, 3 or 4 unit property for sale, and it's in Lewistown, all right? Not everybody in Lewistown is going to be in a position to buy this property. And you might not want to even advertise the property in the neighborhood that this house is in. Remember, Penny Saver and Green Sheet and all these local publications are going to have a distribution that's broken down by neighborhood. So remember how we use the school report, we use county tax assessment database, we use melissa.com to determine where the best properties are, but also where the best people are. Okay, if you're using the booklet to attract professionals and business owners, i.e., engineers, firemen, policemen, chiropractors, dentists, you'll find that they live in certain types of areas. You can determine those areas based on average price range, and you can determine that predominantly the people living in those areas are going to be your professional and/or business owners. Right? You can place this ad in those areas. Now think this through. This property is likely not going to be in those areas where you're placing the ads. You're placing the ads in the areas where the people reading the ad are most likely going to be in a position to be able to buy a multi-unit building. Okay? So I want you to think about what I just said there and take notes on it. When you're placing ads for properties for sale on these local publications, you place the ad in the areas where the people living there are most likely and most able to buy an investment property. If you place the ad for your property for sale, i.e. this multi-unit building, in the area where the property resides, most of those people in that area are probably going to be renters and not people buying investment properties. Okay, so that's what I want you to. And if you look at when you go to the Penny Saver, Green Sheet, these local publications, there's always instructions on how to place ads. Let's see. We'll have to go to a different page. I have to probably go to the home page. And they'll tell you how it works. Matter of fact, I used to keep the map view of all the areas in my daily planner, and also the list view. So I'd have the map view to show where the areas are, and I have the list view to give me the area number and neighborhood name. Okay, and I always knew where I was going to place my ads. Once I did it 2 or 3 times, I knew exactly where I would place my ads. Okay, so in any case, moving on here, this is just one example. An ad you might not want to mimic, an ad you might want to mimic right here, okay? The second ad, always place it in a box, and always put it in the areas where the people reading this paper in that area are going to be most likely in a position to be able to buy an investment property, okay? Same thing goes with the other small publications. The reason we advocate the small local publications is they're generally a lot more affordable than the larger publications. Your big city papers, New York Times, LA Times, Baltimore Sun, they're going to charge an arm and a leg to place ads, and we stopped doing it years ago because they no longer work. The large city paper ads really do not work that well. You can place an ad on Sunday morning in the real estate section and get some results, all right? But that's for the general market. That's for the owner-occupied business. For the investor business, it works much better if you use the smaller publications. And just like the bigger publications, they actually do give you volume discounts, not just for how many areas you posted in a particular day, but how often do you run your ads? If you have an account set up with them, which you should have, okay, make sure you make a note of that, set up an account with these local publications. And if you run ads every week, you can get dramatic discounts on running your ads. So again, you get discounts on running your ads weekly for a year, for example. You also get discounts when you run in multiple areas on any one publication. Okay. In any case, there's really not much to this technique. Really all you do is you call the number for the local publication, go online like this, and you can find out how to actually place an ad. I would generally encourage you to speak with someone first at the publication, to ask them what do you need to do, how do you place an ad, and what are the rules and regulations. And often they'll send it to you in an email with a PDF that you can print off and keep it with you. It'll give you the areas, it'll give you the map view, the list view, pricing structure, the whole 9 yards. It'll give you also what features they have as far as when you're placing an ad, like building a box on it, using different colors, using pictures. Get all the information up front, okay, and play and practice. Practice makes perfect. So in any case, great technique, not just for selling your properties and locating other good investors by strategically placing your ads, but also because of one just like this, okay, you can type it in on your county tax assessor database, find out who the owner is, and contact them directly by using this letter, all right? And they might just be willing to talk to you, because chances are if they're using this, all right, they're probably selling it by themselves. There's no indication here that this is an agency, right? Because if there was an agency, they'd have to disclose that. Okay, so let me check and see if we got any questions on this. Hopefully you can see that something that's maybe a traditional method can really be tweaked and modified to be more effective for working with these investors, okay? Now, before I get into the next technique, I want to preface it with this. I just mentioned that many of these ads, and you, by the way, you should make a habit of looking at these on a regular basis. I look at them every single week. Our paper came out on Wednesday, and no later than Saturday when I look at it to see what's out there, see what people are asking for rents, see what people are asking for the properties, see who's showing the properties, okay, because you'll start to develop a little bit of a database of knowledge on who the investors are in any particular area, and you can see what they're doing. If they're starting to sell properties, maybe something happened. Maybe they lost a job, they went through a divorce, you never know what happened. Or perhaps they're just tired of owning all the rentals, and they're looking to offload them. And because you've been trained as an investor agent, you can approach them using some of our tools and basically stand out from the crowd and do a better job of getting their attention. Okay, I mentioned FSBOs in here a couple of times already, which leads me to my next suggestion, which is this. If you have, if you have an action, if you use a paper like this and you determine who the FSBOs are, one campaign you can execute is using this letter, okay, that we give you in the training program, and we also give you in the classroom. We'll actually come and teach a class at your market set. If you notice the letter, the way it's written, okay, it's very specific, however specific to the property, the fact that we have people who want to buy property just like it, and we name the type, by the way, and also we name the owner specifically, okay, so it's specific in those regards. But where it is not specific, is nowhere in here does it say anything at all about bankruptcy, foreclosure, divorce, probate, in the case when someone passes away, landlord-tenant cases. There's nothing in there at all, okay, that says you have any information at all about them personally and anything that's going on in their personal lives. The only information you have is what's related directly to their property, okay, and that's how you want to keep your letter work. Keep it that way right now. Later on, you'll get information. Once you've earned the right to do business with the recipient of this letter, then you can do an interview, qualify them, ask more questions, and get the background on why this person may in fact want to sell the property. Okay. All right. So that's what I was saying. If you look at this letter, it's always name specific. Okay. The salutation. The first sentence is always property specific. Okay. Then you have your positioning statement, which is, I'm not suggesting you sell your property if you don't want to. Now they're intrigued. Okay, what's this all about? They read the next sentence, which says inventory is tight right now. Okay, so you give them a statement of fact, inventory is tight, and then you follow it up with your power statement. And I have clients like Mr. Majestic who want to buy a fully in building just like yours in your area. Okay, you mentioned that you have clients plural, and you name one of your clients by last name, and you use only one client and only the last name, and always get their permission. Okay, and I hope you're taking notes on this. In any case, you mentioned that they want to buy a property just like theirs, and you name the type of property that it is in your area. And you soften them up with the statement. That's why I specifically sought you out. And then you give them your offer. So even if you're just curious about where your property would sell for, and use those words, sell for, not worth, but sell for, please call, text, or email. We'll be glad to give you a free property evaluation. Okay? Now that letter, in the case of a FSBO, here's why I like this letter in the case of FSBOs. All right? A lot of agents focus on FSBOs. I get it because it's one of the techniques we teach in traditional marketing. However, where you're going to set yourself apart is this. A lot of agents are actually going and knocking on doors, door knocking, okay? Or what I do not advocate at all is they're using some of our techniques, like going to the county tax assessment database, getting the ownership information, going online, perhaps even finding their phone number online, or they're looking at the ads like we just did, get their phone number and call them under false pretenses. Don't ever do any of those tactics, okay? Here's what you want to do. You can send this letter now. You're not going to get everybody with this letter. There's a lot of FSBOs. They're going to try to sell. And when they finally give up, it's whatever agent just called them that day, because they're not going to remember everybody else. However, you can stand apart from the crowd by using this letter and sending it to them every month, as long as you see the properties for sale by owner. Okay. I'm sorry, but for FSBOs, you're going to send it every other week. Don't do it every week. Just do it. Don't do it every week. Just do it every week. Okay. Now, what you want to do to spice this up, if you're selling this to FSBOs, is one of my techniques that we use. One of the ways to add a little oomph to this technique is to send them what I call an informal CMA, not a full-blown CMA. You can do that if you want to. It's just got a lot of pages with a lot of fluff. What I like to do is give them 3 pages of summary information on the local market around their house, okay? Well, obviously you know where the house is because you're sending them this letter. It's within their zip code, for example, or just in their neighborhood, maybe some surrounding neighborhoods that are similar. Send them 3 additional pages of information from your MLS. 1 page will be active listings. 1 page will be sold in the last 90 days. The 3rd page will be what's currently under contract, what's pending. And you send those 3 summary pages in with the letter, and just to say, I just want to show you what's going on in your marketplace. I hope this helps you. Before I was an agent, I used to want to sell my property myself too, and I learned a lot. And one of the things I learned is information is vital. So here you go. I hope this helps you. And don't ask for the business. You haven't heard that right yet. Remember, do never ask for business until at a minimum you've had personal contact with this person. And I don't mean just over the phone personal contact. I mean actually in person in front of them. Okay? So send this letter right away. So if you're scanning the ads every week, you should be able to get to them within a week then with this letter, the most recent FSBOs. All right? Another thing you can do too is that really works well is stop by the property after the 2nd letter, possibly the 3rd letter. If the property is still for sale and now it's been 4 weeks and they haven't sold it, go by the property, and if they're out looking in the yard or the storm doors, the main doors open, the storm doors shut, that they can see you coming up and they kind of wave at you. You know, by all means, take advantage of the situation and engage in a conversation. But what you want to bring with you is a little box. And in that box, you're going to put things in there, which are some of your favorite marketing techniques for selling a property. Give them some forms to fill out, like for seller's property disclosure, which is required in every state and province I've ever been to. Okay, even if the seller does not use an agent, anybody who sells their residential property, including the owners, has to provide a seller's property disclosure. So give them one. In other words, here's what you're doing. They want to sell the house themselves. The best way to get their attention, perhaps earn their favor, and eventually earn the right to do business with them, is give them what they want. Go where they are in their space. In fact, that's one of the key components of a good coach. Is a good coach doesn't sit back there and require everybody to come to him or her. A good coach will go to where that person is. I don't mean geographically. I mean, emotionally, psychologically, demographically, so whatever sociographically you name it. Go find out what that person's state of mind is. And their state of mind is sell the house themselves and save some money. And the best way you can earn right to the business with them is to give them what they need to be successful. It doesn't mean they're going to be successful. They might, but more often than not, they're still not. Even when you give them the tools to help them be successful, they still don't have to market. And there's no way they can compete with you putting the property on the MLS system. So give them what they want. Give them the forms they need to fill out, the legal forms. Give them samples of Craigslist ads, penny saver ads, green sheet ads, anything that's inexpensive or free. Because remember, they're selling this thing themselves, and they're doing it because they want to save money. So don't give them things like use the Baltimore Sun or the New York Times to advertise your property. That's going to be way too expensive. You can even offer to show them how to set up a property for sale on their Facebook page. Okay? You can show them that stuff. You can't put that in a box. What you can do is when you give them the box of all the stuff that you can give them in the box, and it starts up a conversation, you could say, I can show you how to put this property out there on Facebook. Would you like to do that? Now you're in their house sitting at their computer, helping them put out a Facebook ad for the property for sale. The bottom line is this: serve with the servant's heart, give. Think Zig Ziglar. Helping if other people get what they want, you'll be able to get plenty of what you want. Okay. The bottom line is this letter is a great icebreaker when it comes to working with FSBOs. And it's a little bit different than other agents who are sending them letters that are way longer than this. And all their letters are talking about all the things they can do. I'm number one at this. I'm number one at that. I sold more properties in your neighborhood. Blah, 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 blah. Sellers are so tired of getting that kind of card and letter from other agents. It's going to be refreshing when they see that you're not saying how great you are and all the techniques you'll use to sell their property. You just say, you know what, I got buyers, and some of them want to buy a house just like yours in your area. Okay. Then you follow up with the gift box, nothing fancy, just stuff that you know that they need. They can't do without, regardless. Okay, so it's surely to be a well-received gift. All right, and then you offer something like help them post a Facebook ad that will get you in the door. Maybe not that visit, but perhaps the second one. Okay, that's how you use this letter to get FSBOs. Right now, same thing with expires. Now, here's the challenge with expires. I love using this letter with expires. It's not the magic pill. It's not the silver bullet, because a lot of expires are going to get basically taken over by another agent the very next day. I mean, because you can set up a list. You can set up a search on your MLS system that says, computer, give me all the properties that expired today. And you run that search every single day, and you get all the expires. Well, guess what? 1,250,000 agents are also after doing the same thing. So some of them are going to get business that way. It works. I know I've done it. You're going to be. It's the luck of the draw. You happen to be the guy that shows up at the right place at the right time. It's very competitive. But here's the point. Not every expired is going to want to listen to another agent right away. They're going to be, number one, they can certainly be disappointed, frustrated. They might even be angry, okay? And you don't want to be, you got to be careful. If you show up right away and they're in their state of anger, you got quite a task on your hand. What I like to do is use this letter for expires, and I'll get all the expires the other agents didn't get, because they're so busy trying to call the people and go door knock. And a lot of sellers are going to see that as being invasive. So what I do is I use this letter because it stands out. Again, I'm not saying anything at all about their expired. I'm nowhere in this letter do I say, dear Clay, I'm writing to you about your property located at 17 Elm. I'm sorry you weren't able to sell it with the prior realtor. You know, as soon as you say that, you rub salt in the wound. You just reminded them of why it failed, of their most recent failure. You don't want to do that. All you want to do is offer the solution. Hey, you know, so you never mention anything about the property not selling. You just say, you know what, I've got buyers who are interested in properties just like yours. Believe me, this letter is going to get a much more favorable reception than a letter that reminds them of the fact that their house didn't sell. Okay? Very critical distinction. Matter of fact, I was in a class a few weeks back, and I think it was in Phoenix, and one of the teachers brought that up, and he said, I now know why my letter was not well received. And I said, that's exactly right. You're reminding them of their pain instead of offering the solution. Just offer the solution, and you'll get better results. So in any case, with expireds, it still could be a tough battle, but what you're doing here is you're getting the expireds who did not turn around and the very next day list the property. These are expireds who said, you know what, I'm just going to not deal with it for a while. I'm not going to call any of these knuckleheads back because I'm tired of dealing with realtors, and I'm tired of dealing with this. I want to go golf. I want to go on vacation. I might want to rethink the idea of selling my property. So this letter shows up a few days later. Okay, after the initial wave of activity is over, your letter shows up 2 or 3 days later. Perfect timing. Okay, it just got to the point where most of the phone calls are decided, and here's your letter shows up with this format. Okay, so and then at that point, once you get their attention, it's different than FSBOs. You don't have to give them gifts. You don't have to offer to help them sell their property for free. You know, that works with FSBOs because we know that the majority of the time they have to use an agent eventually anyways, and you're the guy that actually came from contribution and serve at the server's heart. And back to the expires now, they already know you're a realtor. They already know, you know, that they've tried it before, and they probably understand the value of using the MLS or real estate agency to sell the property. You don't have to convince them of all that. You just got to convince them that you're the person that they need to work with, okay? And this letter is a great start. So I love it for expireds. All right, before I give you the last technique to make this for you, I'm gonna let it go a little bit longer. But I want to give you one more technique. Let me just see if I've got any new questions here. Let's see. Dana Truman from up in Maine says, hey, dude, you got Franklin in the backpack. He's getting a smart investor brain on. So Dana's got a pretty new 18-month-old baby. Congratulations, Dana. And he's multitasking, obviously. There's going to say me. So people have used other people. Yeah, I know Dana's going after expires, and I believe FSBOs too. So Dana, try this technique in the sequence of steps I gave you and see if that doesn't give you some better results. So in any case, okay, let's get into the last technique. It's going to take a little time for me to go through this. Let me see. Oops, I didn't want to do that. I'm not sure what that was going to bring up. Let me go here. Okay, we talked about local publications. Oh, by the way, one more thing I want to offer you when you're placing your ads. When we're talking about local publications, you can offer free reports also. There's a website actually called freereport.com, okay? And you can get all kinds of free reports out there. So when you're placing your ads, let's go back here and see if that's okay. So we place this ad up here. One of the things you can do is once you've made put your ad out there, give them the offer, which is call me, in between here, or you can put it after the phone number, you can find a free report. You can go online and you don't have to use freereport.com. Just Google real estate reports and see what you can find on your area, okay? Well, let's say you offer my free reports. Remember, we've got free reports out there you guys can use to send to these folks. Put that in here. Say, for a free report on local multi, and it's click or visit www and your website and your page with your free report. Always give them a second offer is what I'm saying here in these types of ads. So you offer want them to have them look at the property. If they're not interested in the property, at least you give them a second option is, hey, if this is not the right property for you, No sweat. Get a free report on what's happening in the rental community in this Lewistown area. And most people looking to buy rentals are going to click on that and get that free report. And now you've got a new lead. Okay? That's what I'm going to bring up. I'm sorry, I neglected to mention that earlier. All right? Okay. So we talked about publications, the fact that we use small ones, not big ones. We talked about using the letter for FSBOs and expires. I mentioned that back in February. We haven't up until tonight. We haven't been able to get to it to show you how to use it. Okay, final one for tonight is it's a spin-off on the workshop. It's not the classroom scenario that I gave you back in late September, early October. That was a 4-week episode. If you go back to the recordings, on the website, you'll find, and remember they're cataloged by subject, you'll find them out there. Classroom technique, week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4. There's 4 recordings out there because it takes 4 weeks to go through that scenario. That's another spinoff on the workshop methodology. Here's one that's actually a little bit easier to pull off. It's essentially a joint venture. Okay, let's see if I've got something in here related to this. I think that I do. By the way, next week, I believe it's next week, or the week after, excuse me, Paul, our web developer, is going to be on. He's going to help you guys walk through how to set up a real easy and affordable website, okay? Also how to do a blog, because if you have a website, you should have a blog, excuse me. And if we have time, he's going to show you how to do a YouTube video. In other words, you can walk through some local properties and video as you're walking through, videotape it and give the financials on the property and put it out on YouTube. Okay, a little more, obviously a lot more to it than that, but he'll go through all that with you. So if we can't get to that YouTube methodology when Paul's on, we'll set up a separate week, so don't worry about that. Okay, joint ventures. There's lots of uses of joint ventures. In this case, we're going to use it when it comes to trying to drum up new clients. And you've all done this before. If you've done first-time home buyer workshops, you know that you typically will bring in someone else with you, like a lender, okay, which is a good idea. You can bring in an insurance guy, you can bring in an appraiser, you can bring in an inspector, you can bring in another seasoned veteran investor if you want, which I highly recommend. But here's another spin-off on that technique. Instead of having one at your local library or church or school or municipal building, join forces with another service provider, again, like a lender, okay? And what you want to do is, when it comes to the niche group, okay, like I know we have a student in Nashville, Scott Mosley, who's a former police officer, and I've been trying to encourage him for months to set up that niche because police officers make great investors. And in fact, I'm going to call him on Sunday. But what you can do is, remember, a lot of these people are working during the day, all right? And if you do a traditional workshop, you're going to be doing that at night because they're off work and then you're working. What you can do is to satisfy them and to also help you keep a more sane schedule is set up a workplace workshop. And you want to team up with somebody. If you're able to do what I call a twofer, which is team up with somebody who's in the niche group you're looking to pursue, who is also an investor, or perhaps is maybe they have a lending business or a home inspection business, like an engineer. Sometimes an engineer who owns an HVAC business, oftentimes I've seen them set up another related business in the way of a home inspection business. Where they follow the ASHI codes and all that. But in any case, let's just take an example here. Let's take police, since I mentioned police. One of the things you can do is, and people do this all the time in the insurance business, by the way, financial planning business, is offer to set up a free workshop for policemen who are interested in investing. And I can tell you a lot of them are. In fact, one of our really good area directors in New Jersey, John Clyde, he's a former New Jersey State Trooper, and he started investing in small rentals and eventually got his license. Started a brokerage, came to Keller Williams, and now he's an area director. Great success story of an agent investor. So, in any case, he actually catered to almost all the state troopers who wanted to invest in the state of New Jersey. Remember, New Jersey is not that big. Okay, you can drive across it left, east to west in about an hour, and north to south in a couple hours. All right, so it's not that difficult to serve, have a niche group in New Jersey. But wherever you are, if you have an affinity with policemen or state troopers or any public servant like that, firemen, okay, where they're required to be on duty, go to their place of business, and just like the insurance guys and the bankers and the whatever other groups are trying to sell whole life policies, you name it, you put on a workshop and put it on in their place of business. Okay. Now always bring someone with you with these because it lends credibility. Right. Remember, you're going into someone's place of business, so you wanna if you have someone with you, it helps to lend credibility. And lenders are a good example. I've used home inspectors. I've had attorneys come with me to talk about the closing process or talk about the landlord-tenant process of evicting somebody. So you bring in an attorney. A lot of these guys are saying, "Hey, I'm interested in buying rentals. I know Joe over here buys rentals, but I've always been concerned because I know I get a lot of domestic calls, rental properties, and a lot of times I've been involved with evictions. I think I want to know more about that before I go plunk some money down on a rental property." So you bring an attorney to talk about the landlord-tenant situation or landlord-tenant requirements and protocol in their particular area in their particular state. Okay, and I like policemen because I've worked with them before, and they really do make great investors. But essentially, you've got to first go through the human resources department. Always start there. In most municipalities around North America, this is U.S. and Canada, all right, the local police force is joined at the hip with the local municipal authorities. Okay, you're generally going to have a municipal building that'll house the water authority, sewer authority, the management for refuse collection, parks and recreation, occupancy, zoning, and you guessed it, police. Okay, so they all, and a lot of times they'll share services, they'll share resources like human resources. Okay, so you want to start there, follow the proper protocol, let them know who you are, what you're doing, the fact that it's community oriented. Number one, the fact that it's free. Okay, and if you're really good, you actually will provide lunch or something, donuts, whatever you think is appropriate for that time of day. And here lies the other reason why you want to bring someone with you, like a lender, all right, or an attorney or an insurance guy. Have them split the cost of the food with you, because not only are you going to get clients out of the deal, so are they. In other words, the lender is going to get the loans, the home inspector is going to get inspection jobs out of it, the attorney is going to get perhaps a closing or even future landlord tenant cases. So they all have a vested interest in coming with you to these events, and also splitting the cost of the food. Now, I've done events before that have had, lunchtime events. In other words, workplace events with 50 or 60 people. So the lunch tab was way up over $2,000, $2,500 to be exact on the first event. And I split that with a local lender. He was glad to do it because he got loans out of the deal. Right? So anyways, start with human resources. You generally got to look out 2 to 3 months. I mean, always you want to be, so don't be discouraged if you go in there. Always call first to make an appointment. If you just show up, you might have some success, but it's better to try to make an appointment over the phone first and then doing a visit them in person. And don't be discouraged if you find out that you've got to schedule months in advance. Okay, that's difficult. And by the way, also keep in mind what you might want to say is, I can come back and do this on different days of the week, different times of day, because a lot of these people are going to have shift work, right? Sometimes you'll have a traditional Monday through Friday 9 to 5 operation that you're going to do a workshop with. But a lot of these public servants are always doing shift work. So you can do one in the morning, one in the afternoon, and one in the evening on different days of the week. And you work with the human resources people to determine what's that best schedule, okay? So workplace workshop works wonderful because you don't have to worry about finding these guys and developing that niche, because they're all in that workplace, they're all already in a niche, and they're already there. It's like having a captured audience. I love this technique. It's a wonderful variation to the workshop technique. And if you have, here's the final point I was trying to make here, by the way. If you have an in with that group, you know, husband, wife, parent, child, who's a policeman, brother, sister, whatever the case is, okay, or you yourself, like Scott Mosley used to be a police officer, go with that niche. If it's firemen, go with firemen. If it's teachers, go with teachers. You know, your teachers, you generally have to do that on what's called an in-service day. That's where teachers work and the students aren't there. So there's lots of those scattered throughout the year. They're easy to find because they post them on the school's website. All right, so you know what the dates are. In any case, you want typically, by the way, when it comes to teachers and a lot of those folks that have typical 9-to-5 jobs or some regular schedule, just what I'm getting ready to tell you is true for those folks, not the firemen and police where there's a lot of shift work. Outside of that, those two groups, firemen and policemen, the ones who have a regular daily schedule, always try to do this at lunchtime because they're already going to be taking off. The boss isn't going to care so much. They'll be thrilled to have you come in and provide lunch as long as you keep it to an hour. It keeps the people motivated and excited. It's a value add for them. And quite frankly, it's you're providing a good service and you're doing it for free. So anyways, let's do a brief recap here before I do. Let me check for questions. Who likes this this workplace workshop technique? Let me see a show of hands here if you guys could. It's an awesome way to penetrate a particular niche. So Dana, I know you're a former coastie up there in Maine. You get out into Portland and set this up. You might have to do 3 of them to capture everybody, or make sure you capture everybody who's interested, different days of the week, different times of day, and set up a workplace workshop, particularly at the lunch hour. If you can locate a local lender who's investor friendly, they like making loans on investment properties, bring them along and see if you can drum up some activity that way. And what's really nice is if you can get a regular gig out of this, here's the other thing I want to tell you guys. Not every month, but perhaps every quarter or every 6 months, or even just once a year, get a regular gig going with these guys and say, look, I can come back and do this every year if you want, every 6 months, every 3 months. And if you're really creative, you can do it maybe every quarter, talk about a different subject. So quarter 1, talk about flips. Quarter 2, talk about rentals. Okay. Quarter 3, if you've got the stomach for it, talk about wholesaling. You can do all kinds. You can come back in again and even talk about a landlord tenant situation. Bring in an attorney. That's another lunchtime, lunch and learn event. Okay, doesn't have to always be directly related to sales. Remember, you're providing information. You're providing education. And when you come from contribution like that, the sales will come much more easily. All right. So again, if you do a workshop event where you're talking about the landlord tenant situation, how do you addict somebody? You're not going to sell anything there. You're providing information. But when they decide, you know what, I want to go ahead and buy rentals, I understand the process now, they're going to call you because you provided the information and the education. So in any case, that was the final thing I wanted to go over with you guys tonight. If you have any questions, please let me know, because I want to hang on a few extra minutes. I know that we've got a late start, and I want to honor our time together, because I appreciate it and appreciate you guys being on. I'll give it another minute here, and then I'm going to get back to celebrating my brother's birthday. I didn't realize when I set this up we will be together, and so I'm going to go join the family here in a little bit. I hope you all have had a wonderful week after Easter, if you celebrate Easter, that is. Either way, I hope you had a wonderful weekend last weekend and a great week this week. This weekend, of course, is the first weekend of April. Oh, by the way, my schedule. Okay, so Monday, I'll be teaching in Pittsburgh. Wednesday and Friday, I'll be teaching in Detroit. The following week, I'll be down in Charlotte, North Carolina for an entire week. Okay? The week after that, I'll be scattered all over. I'll be in Richmond, Virginia, Lynchburg, Virginia. This is the week of the 18th, by the way. And I'll be down in North Carolina, wrapping up the week in Wilmington, North Carolina. The last week of April, which is the week of April 25th, I will be in South Carolina. I'll be in Columbia, South Carolina. I'll be in Charleston, and I'll be in Hilton Head. And the first week of May, I'll be in South Florida. Second week of May, I'll be in Tampa, Florida. The third week is looking like Chattanooga and Knoxville, Tennessee. But for right now, just remember April and the first 2 weeks of May. And if you want me to, if you're in those areas, and I've taught there before, and you want to have a workshop, okay, whether it's a workplace workshop or a nighttime workshop at a local library or church, for example, or you're doing your own classroom scenario, if you've graduated to that level, like Ken and Tammy have up in Washington, D.C., please let me know at least a week in advance. And I'd be glad to show up and help you guys out. Okay? So keep that in mind. Let's see. And Dana's going to have a drink of PBR from her brother. Thanks, Dana. Okay, guys, looks like we're wrapping up for today. Thank you, Lana, for your kind words. I appreciate that. I certainly will. And Lana, I am going to be back up in, oh boy, let's see. I think it's in June. 1 week in June, I'm supposed to be up in the Toronto area, another week up in the Ottawa area. I don't know exactly, but I'll keep you guys in mind. I'll keep everybody in mind, okay? Okay, hope you all have a wonderful evening, a great day tomorrow. It's Friday and an awesome weekend, and we will see you, actually next week, hang on 1 second, is going to be Wednesday night, and I will be, where will I be? I'll be in Canada, actually. I'll be driving from Detroit over into Ontario. And I'll be doing a webinar from there, and that's when we'll have Beverly on. So make sure you guys are on board next week and learn some really cool techniques that I guarantee you 99% of all agents are not doing it. All right? Okay. You guys have a wonderful night. Thank you again for participating and your patience on the audio technical difficulties. Hopefully they won't ever see that again. And we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.